In this video, we will be going over the notes for section 9.3, which is over circles. Now, every circle follows the following equation, where the center of the circle is h comma k. So it's not the vertex, but it is the center of the circle, and r is the length of the radius. So, just like finding the vertex, you can find the center of the circle by thinking about the opposite here and here, or just finding h and k by using a little bit of algebra. But I'll go ahead and jump into it here. It says, for number 1, find the center and the radius, then graph the circle. So in problem number 1, if this is x minus 2, the center would start with a positive 2. And if this is y plus 3, then it would have a negative 3 as the y value. But since the number right here for 9 represents r squared, take the square root of 9, and that would give you a radius of 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to plot the point 2, negative 3, and you're just going to go 3 units in 4 directions. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to do your best circle out of those points. Mine's probably not going to be the best. Nope, kind of messed it up there, but you get the idea. You may have done this in geometry. Number 2, the center here would start off with negative 1, comma 0. Since this is 16, your radius then would be 4, because the square root of 16 is 4. So I go to negative 1, comma 0, and I go 4 units in either direction. Once again, I get an okay looking circle. Number 3, the center here should be negative 4, comma 1. The radius should be the square root of 6. And you're going to have to approximate that using a decimal as to help you graph. It's around 2.4, I believe. So I've got my center, and then I just go 2.4 units, the best that I can. There we go. All right, so if I go to the back of the notes, we can do that in the reverse order. So if I give you the graph, you can write out the equation. You are first going to find the center, which is this point right here. You are going to find the radius, which is 3. And so to write the equation, you would start with x minus negative 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 3 squared. And if you ever have 2 negatives, make sure you make that a positive. So a lot of times I might not even show that step just because I can work backwards. But that would be your equation. Now the hard part would be is if your circle, if it has an equation that's not in standard form. So when you have an equation where the x and the y values aren't grouped together, you're going to have to rearrange them and complete the square. Here's what I mean. I am going to write this as x squared minus 8x, and then I'm going to leave a little bit of space, plus, parentheses, y squared plus 12y, leave a little bit of space, and then I'm going to set that equal to 0, which I don't really need to write 0 for right now. And so I need to complete the square. I need to find the missing number so that way I can write it as a quantity squared. So from the other day, we said that completing the square is this formula right here. So I'm going to take negative 8 divided by 2, that's negative 4. Negative 4 squared is 16. And if I add 16 here, I need to add 16 there. I can do the same thing with 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 squared is 36. And if I add 36 here, then I have to add it to the other side. So this first part is going to factor down to x minus 4 squared. And then the second part would be plus, and then y plus 6 squared is equal to, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot this 12. So then I have to add the 12 over as well. So I'll just add that 12 in there. Sorry about that. So then 12 plus 16 plus 36 should be 64. So apologies, let me just emphasize that. Since this doesn't have any variables, you should have moved it over right off the start, and I just forgot to do that. But we now know the center is 4, comma, negative 6, and the radius would be 8. Feel free to graph it, but I'm not going to. So the rest of these problems are just asking you to write the equation based off some information. You know, if you're given the center and the radius, it's not a bad gig. All I have to do is remember my signs. So if the first coordinate is negative 4, I would write it as x plus 4 squared. The second coordinate is 2, I would write that as y minus 2 squared. And then make sure to square the radius as well. Number 7 here, this would start off as x minus 1 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals, now you do have to square this. Okay, so the other thing that you have to make sure, I almost left this out, this is actually the diameter. So the radius would actually only be half of that. And then you would square it. So don't make the mistake that I almost did. If it's the diameter, you have to find the radius first and then square the radius. So 2 squared would be 4. Square root of 3 squared would be 3. So it looks like the radius is going to be 12. So be careful on that. If they give you the diameter, divide by 2. And so number 8 says, write the equation of a circle if the endpoints are 7, 6 and negative 1, negative 8. Well, if I have the endpoints of a circle, I should find the midpoint between these two endpoints, and that will give me the center. So I'm going to add up the x values, divide by 2. I'm going to add up the y values, divide by 2, and that will give me a center of 3, I believe, negative 1. Now the hard part is I have the center, but I don't necessarily know the radius without either graphing this information and counting the distance between this and this, or doing a little bit of algebra to figure that out. Doesn't really matter, okay? You can think about it either way. Probably the algebra will work out to be easier because graphing doesn't always work out to be nice and neat. So to do the algebra way, you could find the distance formula. You can use the distance formula, pick either of the endpoints, and use the center, and just find the distance between them. The other way is you could try to write out the equation backwards and plug in some values. Either way is going to be fine. So the distance is equal to 7 minus 3 squared plus, and then, so I did 7 minus 3, so now I need to do 6 minus negative 1 squared. So this would be 4 squared plus 7 squared, which would be 16 plus 49. And usually in the distance formula, I will take the square root. But, you know, when I do the equation of a circle, I'm trying to find the radius, but essentially I want to leave it as the radius squared. So I'm actually not going to take the square root using the distance formula. So then the radius squared is just going to be equal to 65. So that's just a shortcut, so that way I don't have to undo what I just did. So then my answer should be x minus 3 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals just that 65. And that's why I didn't take the square root over here, because then I would have had to just re-square it. There's your video.